You guys really don't know when it's good or bad when it comes right down to it. You really don't know because you don't know what we're trying to do. You guys don't look at the films. You don't know what happened. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know, and you never will.
To come home because I have a very special love.
The media public doesn't know. You guys don't know. Sometimes it won't. I can tell you it won't be good, and you'll see it won't be good. Sometimes you'll think it's good, and it isn't any good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was pretty darn good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was bad. But basically, you really don't know.
Welcome back to the Beta Boys Weekly Packers Corner. Following the Packers' defeat here in Week 8, 27-17 to the Buffalo Bills, marks our fourth loss in a row. We have to have quite a stretch here moving in to make the playoffs even. But you might have... Yeah, we're just trying to win a game.
We just want to win a game.
Well, what's it going to take for us to win a game here, Dad?
We are going to have to be a team that's as interested in playing as hard as possible to win a regular season game as the team we're facing. We may have now arrived at that point in the season when we might be as interested in playing as hard as we can against the Detroit Lions to win a regular season game. So I think that's the formula.
Schmitty, can we get it done against Detroit?
You want to go jump segments?
Yeah, let's build it up a little. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
You want this answer, Griffey?
I want to hear a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I'll start with this. Aaron Rodgers today on Pat McAfee's show said that pre-game, the energy in the locker room, getting ready for the game, was the best that he has seen it all year. Obviously, you cannot measure that, but the outcome, the 10-point loss, and Vegas had it at the spread at 10.5. Packers covered. So the Packers won the game in the eyes of Las Vegas. Now, the spread going into this week is 3.5. It was opened at 3, now 3.5. The Packers are favored. That is idiotic. If you don't take Lions money line, that's the easiest bet of the year. The Lions will beat the Packers on Sunday, and we can go right off, say goodbye to Aaron, and see what Mr. 10 brings us, because I think that's the hand we've been dealt. And come 3:30 on Sunday, we can maybe talk a little bit about Jordan Love and what he's going to look like in the following week against the Cowboys, I believe, because it's over.
Man, writing us off just like that after we had the sad family travel to London, and then we saw what happened against the Commanders. They're going to be done for the year following this week is where Schmitty's going already. I was disappointed to see us stand pat today. We didn't make any acquisitions at the trade deadline. I was really hoping we'd see a Brandon Cooks or an Elijah Moore wearing green and yellow. We saw the Minnesota Vikings made a move for the tight end, TJ Hawkinson from the Lions. Maybe that'll help us next week, getting him off the field. We also saw the Chicago Bears get Chase Claypool, who is the Packers were rumored to be, quote, all in on Chase Claypool. They couldn't get it done. I do think that he drew a second-round pick from the Bears. That is a bit of a lofty price for him. But regardless, the word on the street from the Rappaports and Schefters and so forth was that the Packers tried, but were unsuccessful to get a deal done. And boy, have we heard that before, going back to not being willing to pull the trigger for Randy Moss for a fourth-round pick in the twilight of Brett Favre's career, and now we're unable or unwilling to go to get any weapons for Aaron Rodgers down the stretch here. Were you okay with us standing pat there, Dad? I think maybe you're a little more level about that situation than I am.
Well, yeah. The only thing, I'll jump ahead, but I'll just say sometimes the best deal you make is the one you don't make. I mean, we were in the Allen Robinson back in the day, and the Bears snuck him away from us. who's the big fancy Rush guy that they got from Las Vegas for $1,100 million that
Khalil
is
Mack.
gone now? Yeah, we were supposedly in on Khalil Mack, but they took him. So when a team wants to go crazy and bid nutsy, then the best move is nothing. But the easiest move we could make is an internal move to get rid of Joe Barry. I mean, how much more do you have to see to understand? And I know I've been on this theme, but 24-3 in the first half, and the game was pretty much over based on the defense that allowed 5 scores in a row. Now, the second half, there was some optimism there, and I'm going to talk about why I actually have a little bit of a new take on things. But Joe, if LaFleur wanted to make a difference that would reverberate through the locker room, he would get rid of Joe Barry and elevate his defensive back coach to be the defensive coordinator who's made the play calls before when Barry was out last year with COVID, did a good job. And it's just not working the way it is. And I think LaFleur, being a young guy, has shown that he's not ready to make decisive moves sometimes when they need to be made. He should have got rid of the special teams coach in season last year. Probably should be doing something better, different at punt returner. I don't know. But for sure, he's got a problem with his defensive coordinator that needs to be remedied.
Hey, could the defense be better? Yeah, we invested, high draft picks in them this year, and they haven't lived up to expectations. We're averaging like 18 points a game on offense. When you look at Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, they give up 36 points last year in the playoffs to the Buffalo Bills. What do? They score 42 points because they had weapons and they got a quarterback that can get it done. I'm just very frustrated with what Aaron's been able to do, and I'm very frustrated with who they surrounded him with for this year and for the last 6 or 7 years. Honestly, we had Devontae Adams, of course, but it seems like the teams that have been able to get it done in the playoffs, and in my opinion, have multiple weapons on the perimeter at the wide receiver position, and we showed a complete reluctance and unwillingness to get Rodgers a second weapon on the perimeter since the Super Bowl. We had a Super Bowl year, and we had a 15-1 year when we had a stacked receiving core with Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver at the end of his career, then an early Randall Cobb, James Jones, Jermichael Finley. And when we gave Rodgers weapons, we won a heck of a lot of ball games. So I was disappointed that we couldn't add someone. Look at our receiving core. It's the worst in the NFL. Maybe we have some young guys that are going to come on. But that's just not the way to see Aaron Rodgers go out. And that's a bit of the reason why Tom Brady got frustrated in New England and left town there. And we saw what he was able to do late in his career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they added significant weapons over there. So I'm a little bit upset about that, if you can't tell. Schmitty, yeah, go ahead there, Dad.
Well, I hear what you're saying. The operative question there then always becomes, who is it that you wanted to get and how much were you willing to give up for him and what's he going to do for the team? Who's that guy? Is it OBJ? Wouldn't seem
well, there's
to be
significant moves that I wanted
Elijah Moore is a young guy that isn't going to change is Claypool really going to change your outlook?
No, you're right. Anything we could have done today was a day late and $1 short. But I said in the moment and at the moment that we needed to go get Justin Jefferson or a T. Higgins when we drafted Jordan Love. I said we needed to go get an A.J. Brown, a D.K. Metcalf, or a Deebo Samuel when we drafted Darnell Savage.
My tune.
I mean, this is not something, you're right. Doing something today and pulling the trigger would have been, at least making an effort. And at this point, I feel like we're not even making an effort in the front office. The other thing you look at, it doesn't have to just be on the offense, but teams in recent years, so you look at the St. Louis Rams, of course, they got Odell Beckham. Of course, they traded the first rounder for Matt Stafford, and they ended up having that culminate in Super Bowl. But they also went out and got Von Miller. And you saw the Packers do the same thing in both of the years where they had success enough to win the Super Bowl. We went out and got a Reggie White, Hall of Fame defensive player. We went out and got a Charles Woodson. You need to be all in if you're going to win a Super Bowl, and we never went all in my opinion, in the latter portion of Aaron Rodgers' career. And that's what makes me sad. I feel like we wasted that. And I'm sort of at a point where I don't see a ton of utility in starting Aaron Rodgers from here on out. It's almost to the point where we need to find out what we have in Jordan Love, because if we don't have a guy there, we need to move on from him as quickly as possible too.
Better let Schmitty talk.
Yeah, and Griffey makes a bunch of great points. I think within the next month, the Packers are going to be afforded that very opportunity. You're going to get to see Jordan Love throw the ball. And I've thought since the beginning of the season that this would be Aaron Rodgers' last, and it surely appears to be trending in that direction. The deadline here today, it would have been not surprising by me to see Darnell Savage being moved for a 5th round pick today, things of that nature. But yes, you weren't going to solve the problems that exist on the offense by getting a Claypool, Elijah Moore.
Hey, Brandon Cooks would have been interesting. I think he would have gone a long way in remedying things.
That is one receiver that I brought up today talking to Derek, that would be a move that I actually would praise. And we've been talking about Brandon Cooks for the last 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It seems like we've been trying to maybe make a move for him. Didn't happen. No one should be surprised that we didn't make a move today. But it certainly would have given us just a slight glimmer of hope. But again, didn't happen. And here we are. And hopefully the Samori Tourés and Romeo Dobbs of the world can play a football to the caliber that Aaron Rodgers needs. And on Sunday they did. So as I think the Lions will win on Sunday, we're just at that point where, you know what, let the Lions beat the Packers so we can just get this ball rolling, rather than the Packers rattle off 4 or 5 wins and then we're dashed when we go 9-8 for the year and we're outside looking in, and we lessened our draft value.
Well, I have to give credit where credit's due there. Where for Art Thou Romeo, he had quite the catch.
Might have been the best, and Griffey, you and I were sitting together for that touchdown catch, and what a thing to celebrate. That was amazing.
Hey, we had some momentum at that point, and it was getting exciting, and I haven't heard a lot of reaction from this one. I thought that was an all-time bad offensive pass interference call on Robert Tonyan. That was a big 4-point swing that would have given us a chance to really be in that game coming down the stretch, but probably wasn't a game we deserved to win anyhow. But I do have to give credit for Romeo for stepping up, and Rodgers has confidence in him, and there's a bright future for that guy. But it's just not the type of guy in Rodgers, what could have maybe been his penultimate season, but at the very least a chance to be his final season. It seemed like we needed more on the table there for him, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just interjecting here before we lose the thought. It's amazing how the fates of a team can turn on one GM move. And I think you accurately, I'm going to just underscore this for a minute. Then I'm going to flip this around and tell you why I have some positivity going here, or a little philosophical positivity. Getting Darnell Savage instead of A.J. Brown or D.K. Metcalf is completely changed where this team could be right now today. And I think you would both agree with that. In fact, if you had D.K. Metcalf or A.J. Brown, you probably would have kept Adams. And then you'd really have something going. And so the GM just completely screwed up when he traded 2 fourth round draft picks to move up 10 spots and get this bum. I'm not as a human being. I'm sure he's a good human being, but he just can't play football. He missed 2 tackles on Josh Allen. He never makes a play. Okay, fine. Understanding that how those moves can really hurt you down the road when you pick the wrong guy. Now, we saw a team that came out in the second half and actually put forth a decent, formidable, representative effort on the field. This team has lacked physicality. It has lacked effort. It has lacked want to. It has lacked strategic play on the defensive side of the ball. we saw the offense become dominant physically up front and run the ball like they meant business. We have to also understand, as bad as it's been, this is a team without Lazard, without Jenkins, without Randall Cobb, playing with rookies in the line and rookies on the outside. And so I just say philosophically, gentlemen, we have to understand we're watching the end, probably the Rodgers era. So let's just sit back, have a little beer and a cocktail, see if we can get back to 500. And you guys don't understand now changing expectations. In the 80s, we would have been thrilled to death to get into the playoff hunt. So maybe you get into the playoff hunt, maybe you get into a wild card position and just enjoy that and see where it takes us. And if this is going to be in the Rodgers era, then kind of enjoy the entertainment that might go with watching some of these young guys come together and make a run at trying to get it a wild card. Now we'll know, Schmidt's right, we'll know after this week. If they can't get it done against Detroit, then you can probably flip the page on that. But I'm going to tell you in the prediction section that maybe I think they can get that done.
Well, if this is indeed the end of the era, and all signs point that way, what are your thoughts here? And we've had this discussion before, Dad, but what are your thoughts on, was it worth allowing Brett Favre to end his career in Minnesota in order to give this California kid a shot? Looking back on it, I'm not so sure I would take Aaron Rodgers. I think I would prefer to have Favre ending his career in Green Bay. We take him back, and whatever happens with Aaron at that point in time, let's see it, because the one Super Bowl and the 15 other heartbreaks has not quite made it worth that decision.
Wow.
Looking back on it for me.
Have you got the ayahuasca going in there, or okay, here, let me paint you the picture. If we keep Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers becomes a free agent and immediately signs with the Vikings.
Great. Break their heart 10 times. I'd love to see it. That would have been great.
They had a team that he would have won multiple Super Bowls over there.
He would not have won. We've seen he is not a winner. He's not a guy that wins multiple Super Bowls.
Miserable 15 years of the Vikings dominating the Packers. So come on now.
Hey, they might have dominated the NFC North, but we saw what Rodgers did in crunch time. We saw how he galvanized the team and was able to get it done. Didn't happen very often.
Wow, you're really throwing everything under the bus. Tell me if you know any of these names: Jim Delgado, Scott Hunter, Carlos Brown, Vladdy Dilwig, Randy Wright, Dieter Brock. Do you have any familiarity with any of those names?
Just from you mentioning them and reminiscing on the 70s and 80s. Yeah, I do that way. Hey, we could have been starting Scott Tolzien and Brian Brom and Billy Joe Tolliver and Seneca Wallace and after we got done with Brett Favre, but it would have made up for it if we didn't see that guy in purple. I'd rather see 12 in purple all day long. Rather than Favre, who was
you're killing me. You're hurting my heart here. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Okay,
I'm a little bitter.
The Packers
Let's turn the script
to get to 500, and they are going to make a run for a wild card. I'm telling you right now, this is what we're going to watch.
Wild card spot.
I'm not saying they're going to get the wild card. I'm saying we're going to make a run for it.
Okay. My prediction is that the Packers lose on Sunday to write this all off, and we don't have to worry about playoffs anymore. However, if I'm incorrect and Gar is right that this ship can turn and set sails for greener pastures here, the island of promises and gold, pearls, and maybe just one of those things called a Super Bowl, a Lombardi trophy.
Don't get carried away, Schmitty.
It happens on Sunday, and the Packers completely blow the Lions out of the water. The offense hums. It's amazing just how many offensive plays we have where a pass is behind the line of scrimmage. I don't know how, like, LaFleur must be just racking his brain night and day. How do we get the ball down the field 10 to 15 yards? It doesn't exist for us. And so until I see it happen, am I a believer that this can all work out? But if it does, if it exists, it's what a great way to exhibit your offensive prowess than against the 1-6 Lions, who have no business being just a 3.5 point underdog against you. So take care of business Sunday, and we might just have a nice conversation on Beta Boys next week.
Hey, that island you were talking about sounded pretty good there. Pearls and gold and Super Bowl rings. I'm all for that. That sounded like a good deal. What do you guys think speculatively it's going to take to get into the wild card? We look at the NFC South, and we had the 1-5 a couple weeks ago Carolina Panthers, who had a chance to get their way to 3-5 and be tied for the lead in that division. Didn't quite happen, so we now have a 4-win team over there in Atlanta. But that division doesn't seem to have a ton of wild card candidates, or at least they aren't in a better position than we are. We have the NFC West that has the San Francisco 49ers looking pretty good, but then you have a bunch of teams out there struggling. The defending Super Bowl champs and the Rams have a questionable record. In the NFC East, there's a couple teams that are looking formidable in the Eagles and the Cowboys, so that's probably one of those two teams at the worst is going to be a highly seeded wild card team. But there might be a situation where a team at around 500 or maybe even slightly below has a chance. That would certainly bode well for us. Where do you see that playing out there, Dad?
Well, just help me remember now. We've got 3 division winners, right? 4 division winners. And how many wild cards? 3?
Yep.
So we got 7 out of 16 teams in the NFC that make the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay. And so the number one, and I'm not going any further beyond this, is you got to win Sunday. That's all I'm focused on. And I do think that you are going to see for the first time this year a Packer team come out with a level of determination and effort that will match the opponent's determination and effort to win a regular season game. This is a desperate team. You saw last week in the second half when they stuck to the run and they came out and schemed up the run and ran it over and over and over against the number 1 run defense for 200 yards, that they were able to get some passing game off of it. And finally, maybe Rodgers has it through his thick skull and LaFleur does, that this is the way you're going to have to win. You're going to have to turn your big boys loose and play some power football. It's not going to be pretty. You win by 1 point, you win by 3 points, you win by whatever. And it looks to me like you've begun to establish an identity as an offense, which has been missing all year long. It's not going to work the old-fashioned way. So that's why I have some hope that we can establish the identity. The nice thing about that identity is it helps our defense. If you're running the ball and eating the clock and shortening the game and giving your defense a break, then I think this is the type of lead to complementary football that could maybe be a success to get back to 500.
As things stand currently, looks like the Giants and the Cowboys at 6-2, paired with the San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Commanders at 4-4 are the teams kind of just above us in the wild card race as it stands currently there, Schmitty.
Yeah, the Giants might just eat themselves alive. They're in the NFC East, so they might come back down to earth, and we might be able to catch them. We're 2.5 behind them essentially, but I agree. I mean, a 9-8 team very well could get into this thing, and that would be a good spot for the Packers.
Any chance our foes to the West can completely just fall apart? I would love to see the Vikings, a couple no's and so forth from Paul Allen.
They're just so good at home that at this point, the lead that they have on us, I think it's going to be really tough for us to unseat them and take the North. But again, I give us on the road in wild card weekend. Roll the dice. If we're at that point, that means that we turn this thing around. We beat the Lions. We took care of the Cowboys. We took care of the Titans. And if we beat the Titans on Thursday night, we have a long break. We have 11 days to get ready for the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. If we win these next 3 weeks, let's have some fun. I think we could potentially win that game in Philadelphia if the next 3 weeks go our way.
It's all about building momentum, right?
It's all about building momentum, and I think that's but that's the kind of optimism we have to have. And if we don't, if we don't take care of business Sunday, then who the heck cares?
It is really a pivotal game there, right? I see it hard to have any motivation going forward if that's not one that we get done there. So it seems like that's a must win. And we've said that for the last few weeks, right? But this really is must win territory, at least is how I see it. You think that's true, Dad?
Well, I can't even look past that game.
Yeah,
I don't even.
It's all that's worth focusing on.
It just doesn't matter. You need to see a representative effort. You need to see a game where you play disciplined football. You don't get stupid penalties. And I know Quay Walker expressed great remorse, and I thought that was good. He obviously got carried away, but Jair, you can't be jawing with other guys and getting into that kind of nonsense. So play penalty-free football, play tough, play hard, play smart, come with that running game, show us what it looks like if you're developing now an identity. And I think that would be huge. And so we see if it happens this Sunday. And then if it does, we can begin to talk about some of the other things. And you can kind of begin to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. If not, then we're going to be talking about why didn't we trade Rodgers at the deadline here? There was some rumblings about that. But hey, listen, guys, he deserves the chance to finish out here in Green Bay after everything he's done. And
he deserves a chance to start this week at Detroit for sure. That's where I'm at on that.
And then if he wins that game, we go from there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I'm not shaving the beard till they win 3 games in a row.
Holy smokes, you might be looking like Dumbledore or something.
Or the season ends.
No, that well, hopefully we get a clean shave here pretty soon. Then that would be good for the Packers here. Let's break down that Lions game just a little bit. We know, of course, the Lions have struggled pretty mightily on defense. It's a game where our offense has to look better because they haven't been able to stop anyone. On the other hand, it's a good challenge for our defense because the Lions' offense has been pretty impressive. They got out to a big lead against the Dolphins and couldn't quite handle it. They're kind of a team that just based on sheer luck and so forth, you'd think they might have a couple more wins than they do because they've been putting up a lot of points. They just haven't been able to find a way to win. So hopefully that trend continues, but what are your keys to the game for us against the Lions, and how do you see that one going? You've kind of talked a little bit about optimism, but also been pessimistic insofar as our chances against the Lions. Schmitty, what's going to be key there, though?
A key for the Packers win is getting to the quarterback. We didn't do much of it on Sunday. So the keys are getting to the quarterback, seeing some sustained drives. You rushed the ball for 200 yards on Sunday. So that part of the game exists. We just need to see some drives where Aaron Rodgers is mixing run and pass. Aaron Jones is as dynamic of a running back as you have in the NFL. Continue to give him the ball. He is your best chance to win. And if they don't do that, which they haven't done that in games that we've lost already this year, we could lose to the Lions. And it's so no one be surprised if we run out of there with a 6-7 point loss, because we'll come back next week and we'll say this is just more of the same. All the reasons that we lost 4 straight and 3 that we should have won, according to Las Vegas, it would just be more of the same. And so Aaron Rodgers and his play and the defense's play is really what's going to put this together. Goodness, if we can just Lions are going to put up numbers on us. We got to show up and be able to score 28 on Sunday. And the Lions have given up the least amount of points they've allowed this season has been 24. So if we don't put up 28 to 31, that's a serious issue. So the offense needs to hum.
What are your thoughts on Detroit, Dad?
Well, it's a fine line in the NFL. It's an interesting thing. You look at a play here, a play there last week. If Tanyan doesn't get the interference call, if we make a 4th and 1 play, all of a sudden you're in that game. You did just about everything possible, humanly possible, to lose the Washington game. I mean, you can't make up the number of things you had to do to lose that football game. Where the Giants game, we were right in that and threw up all over ourselves. So if you look at it, the last 2 or 3 years, we won a lot of close games. We won probably too many. So it's kind of going against us now. And you pull yourself up by the bootstraps and start to get some bounces and things going your way. And things can look a lot different. Get that confidence back, get an identity on offense, and do what needs to be done. And you could suddenly turn this thing around. If the bounces continue to go against you and you don't put the effort in, then it's going to go the other direction. I just think it's as simple as showing up, controlling the ball on offense with that running game, and keeping the defense off the field, and taking care of business against the Lions.
Schmitty, let's hear your prediction. First, how do we do against the spread? You said that taking the Lions money line is a good bet, so I'm imagining that you are taking Lions plus points pretty readily in that matchup.
Well, yeah. I mean, if the mind of a bettor, you look at that line and you say it opened at 3 points, the Packers being favored by 3 points, and you're like, wait a minute, the Packers, they still have a 2-time or back-to-back MVP. They still have a defense that has put good things on film. I mean, they held the Bills to 3 points in the second half. Why would it be that the Lions would only be 3-point underdogs? It doesn't make sense. It's Las Vegas begging you to take the Packers. They're begging you to take something. And that usually means that you should never take it.
You got to do the opposite, as we've hashed out.
You got to do the opposite. and that's a real thing. If they're just dangling it in front of you, you shouldn't be that tempting fruit. You should never grab it. You should never reach for it. So it's the Lions money line. It's a zigzag for sure. But
what do you have for a score?
The score will be the Lions 23, the Packers 21.
Motor City Kitty Schmitty. What do you have, Dad?
I'm trying to figure out Schmitty's logic here. That you think that the Lions should be favored?
No, the Lions. No. I think the spread should be bigger than it is, right? Wouldn't you think that the Packers should be like 6 or 7 point favorites, like they have been the last month?
No. I think the line is about right to me for what they're coming off of. The uncertainty with Lazard, uncertainty with Jenkins, uncertainty with Bakhtiari.
Always with his knee, yeah.
So I just kind of see it. I mean, I'm not trying to say you're wrong, Schmitty. I just see it a little differently, maybe. And so that uncertainty makes it difficult to predict the game. I just have a feeling that you talk a lot on the NFL. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. If you're playing the Packers this week, I think you're going to get the Packers' best shot. And I think you got a pretty good shot from them in the second half last week. And I think they developed a little confidence there. So on that basis, I would just say Packers 23, Lions 16, something like that. And you do what you need to do. And if that's the case, then Schmitty's right. We'll have a fun Beta Boys next week, and we'll be able to talk about other potential possibilities coming down the road. But hopefully Lazard gets back and Bakhtiari holds up and Jenkins can play. And our boy Watson. I mean, that's another. I mean, that really hurts. If you looked at the beginning of the year, thinking about this, guys, we talked about this, Griff. You said the season might largely hinge on how well Bakhtiari and Jenkins recover from injury and how well 2 of those 3 first-round draft picks contribute. And you've been unable to replace Valdez-Scantling with Watson because he's just not on the field. That speed would make a huge difference. So, hopefully we get that turned around, and that's why I have some optimism. If we can squeak this one out, get some of these guys back, get Watson into the routine, maybe we can build some momentum.
Yeah, Watson, of course, early second round, but essentially a first-round pick there. So, yeah, it's imperative that we get those guys going, and they're rookies. There's still a chance that they could, but there's room for improvement there to this point in the season. I haven't picked against the Packers in a couple of years, I don't think. We were talking coming out of the office. You just pick the Packers every time, and you'd be about 80% correct over the last couple of years.
42-13.
No, I'm saying I haven't picked against them.
I know, but 42-13 was looking pretty good at halftime.
It was, but I'm going with the Lions this week. And if I'm wrong, then I just got an extra excuse to be happy. If I'm right, well, it'll salvage the day knowing that I didn't rack up another loss here this week. But I'm hoping that I can. What are
our records picking now?
I'll have to do a little update based on that. I think we're all kind of close to 500. Schmitty might actually be doing a little bit better here because he picked against him. You picked against him last week, but Schmitty kind of had the negative outlook heading into a few of those games against the Commanders and so forth. So I'll have to do a little update of that. Haven't made that happen, but we'll check in and give a report back on our performance to this point next week.
Count it with me, Griffey. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-finger pour on Sunday night. If the Packers can right this ship. 4 fingers of bourbon in this glass.
How many fingers did Rodgers take after we drafted Jordan Love? Did he say? I think he took a 3-finger drink after that one. Fair enough.
Take care of us, Aaron. Please take care of us.
Hey, well, thanks for joining us here this week, guys. Let's look forward to hopefully righting the ship here, getting back into contention. Otherwise, it's Jordan Love season. So we'll see what that looks like.
Bourbon time.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Love you guys.
Have a good one. And his father shoveled horse shit all the days. When the lad was very young, they found a diamond in the dung, and they sent him off to college just to play. Hail, hail, hail to Master Beta, lift your thunder mugs on high, and we'll drink another glass to the biggest horse's ass in the brotherhood of Beta Theta Chi. Go Beta boys!